London, the capital of England and the United Kingdom, is a 21st century city with history stretching back to Roman times. At its center stand the imposing Houses of Parliament, the iconic Big Ben Clock Tower and Westminster Abbey, site of British monarch coronations. Across the Thames River, the London Eye observation wheel provides panoramic views of the South Bank Cultural Complex and the entire city. London is one of the world's most famous and recognizable cities, known for its fascinating history, great culture and vibrant atmosphere. Its modern bustling business and financial district has always been home to Britain's capital city, a place where people from all walks of life can come together to celebrate and exchange ideas even when the rest of the country might be feeling gloomy. Historically, London grew from three distinct centers: the walled settlement founded by the Romans on the banks of the Thames in the 1st century CE, today known as the City of London, the Square Mile, or simply the City, facing it across the bridge on the lower gravels of the South Bank, the suburb of Southwark, and a mile upstream, on a great southward bend of the river, the city of Westminster. The three settlements had distinct and complementary roles. London, the city, developed as a center of trade, commerce, and banking. Southwark, the borough, became known for its monasteries, hospitals, inns, fairs, pleasure houses, and the great theatres of Elizabethan London: the Rose, 1587, the Swan, 1595, and the world-famous Globe, 1599. Westminster grew up around an abbey, which brought a royal palace and, in its train, the entire central apparatus of the British state: its legislature, executive, and judiciary. It also boasts spacious parks and the most fashionable districts for living and shopping: the West End. The North Bank settlements merged into a single built-up area in the early decades of the 17th century, but they did not combine into a single enlarged municipality. The City of London was unique among Europe's capital cities in retaining its medieval boundaries. Westminster and other suburbs were left to develop their own administrative structures, a pattern replicated 100 times over as London exploded in size, becoming the prototype of the modern metropolis. The population of London already exceeded 1 million by 1800. A century later it reached 6.5 million. The city's physical expansion was not constrained either by military defenses, a highly influential factor on continental Europe, or by the intervention of state power, so evident in the town planning of Paris, Vienna, Rome, and other capitals of continental Europe. Although much of the land around London was owned by the aristocracy, the church, and other institutions with feudal roots, its development was the work of unfettered capitalism driven by the housing demands of the rising middle class. People of London. From a total population of 5.6 million in 1891, London grew by 3 million to its peak magnitude at the outbreak of World War II. For several decades after the war, its population shrank by approximately 2 million, to some 6.6 million in the mid-1980s. The decline occurred for reasons common to all large cities of its type: increasing leisure and holiday time, shorter working hours, and access to the automobile freed people from the ties of proximity to their place of work. Families moved out of town in search of a better quality of life. Firms moved for similar reasons, seeking more spacious and accessible sites. As the remaining population spread itself more comfortably in the dwelling stock, the three-generation household became a rarity except among ethnic minorities. Mass housing initiatives and individual gentrification of terraced houses tended equally to reduce population density. Population density: Greater London is the most urbanized area in the United Kingdom and the most populous city in the European Union. Some 1/7 of the country's population is concentrated there, comparable in national significance to the urban agglomerations around Paris, Mexico City, and Tokyo. London's overall population density is considerably higher than those in the country's other urban areas. It is comparable to that of Amsterdam city proper, though it is more than twice as high as that of the Greater Amsterdam agglomeration, and perhaps is closest to that of Greater Paris, which consists of a large conurbation around the city proper. Economy: London has been described elsewhere as a polycentric city. The map of Elizabethan London shows that fields and the river separated distinct centers: the City of London with its shipping, trade, and crafts, Southwark with its gardens, hospitals, and theatres, and the royal court at Westminster. The economy of contemporary London has evolved continuously from the three complementary elements of trade, administration, and leisure. London is one of a handful of trade centers along with New York City, Tokyo, and Hong Kong, where dealers in currencies, equities, commodities, and insurance operate on a global scale. In the first half of the 20th century it was also a substantial manufacturing center. In contrast to the other great cities of Britain, London's factory closures have been compensated at least partly by the city's dynamism in financial services and the media. As an administrative center, London dominates the national life to an exceptional degree. The United Kingdom is constitutionally a unitary state and politically the most centralized in Europe. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, England's three national partners within the United Kingdom, have administrative identity and, Since 1999, national assemblies. But of the three, only the Scottish Parliament has significant power. Much legislative power remains concentrated in the English capital, at Westminster. British local governments raise less than 1/4 of their needs in tax revenues and depend heavily on fiscal transfers from the centre. In British politics, virtually all roads lead to London. If London is a place to win influence and make money, it is also a great playground, a leisure metropolis. Historically, the landed classes flock to London each year to spend the season in the proximity of the court. The legacy of aristocratic consumption still survives in the gunsmiths, art dealers, tailors, and vintners of the West End, now serving a market of London's international visitors. Each year more than 100 million nights are spent by tourists in the capital's hotels. Though its full impact is difficult to trace, tourism has clearly overtaken manufacturing as a source of employment for Londoners, offering direct employment for more than 200,000 workers and perhaps as many more again through economic multiplier effects, some of them in the black market. Thank you for staying with us for so long. See you next time with some interesting travel story.